Hi, I'm Joyce,
And I'm Adrielle.
and we are Divinely
Divinely
Guided.
Guided.
My voice
What was
started,
that?
it started to leave. I don't know what it was. I probably should have brought me a cup of water with me today. But how have you been?
I have been good. I've been very tired.
Really?
Yes.
Why are you so tired?
I don't know. I think my iron might be low.
Are you taking iron tablets?
No.
No.
Yeah. So,
Quite often, women
yeah.
do have low iron. Low iron.
Yeah.
Yes, it is very common. But anyway, have you been practicing self-care?
Other than that, I have been practicing self care. I'm spending lots of time with friends, rollerblading. I do love rollerblading.
Got your hobby going.
Yes. And then I've also been doing yoga and I've been working out more. So that's exciting.
So you've been doing very well.
Yes.
You've been doing a lot of good stuff. Mine has basically been the same as it was last week. Starting off the day with morning meditation.
Yeah.
I like to start out with my gratitude meditation. I promise you, if you start spending some time just being grateful, just being thinking about the things that you have in your life to be grateful for, it really starts to change your whole approach to life. It changes life's approach to you. Yeah, the more you're grateful, the more you find things to be grateful for. But I start with my morning gratitude. I love to do that. And I've really been still working on the manifestation.
Oh, yeah.
Like we talked about last week, been doing a lot of manifesting and still just marveling at how effective it can be in altering your days. And, you just bring things to pass. Like I said, it's almost magical
Yeah.
how it works. But anyway, so today we're talking about something that I think you are so good at when it comes to self-care.
I think you're very good at it as well.
You think I'm very good at it?
Yeah.
But it is about being true to yourself, being authentic. Just being authentic, being your true self, just owning who you are and being that person. I think so many people are miserable or don't live their life as fully as they could because you're too busy focusing on trying to be the person you think everyone expects you to be. But you don't owe it to anyone to be anything. You owe it to yourself to be true to yourself. Now, when I say that, I don't say it in a selfish way. Of course, if you're a parent, you owe it to your children to parent them when they are too young. If you are a spouse, you owe it to your spouse to be an appropriate spouse for them. But just when it comes to the way you live your life, the things you choose to do, the person you choose to be authentic. There are people miserable. There are people who, I see people, they talk about the high rates of suicide. Sometimes I wonder, and I'm not trying to overly simplify what's going on there, but sometimes I wonder if the people are just allowed to truly just be themselves, would they be so miserable that they think suicide is the only answer? What do you think? Have you ever put those two together, or do you think I'm oversimplifying it?
I don't think you're oversimplifying it. I bet that there could be some correlation there. Between just, because if you're not being your authentic self, you're not being you're not living the life you want to live, that can make you feel that way. But if you're being authentic, I don't know. You might have a point.
No, I just kind of think about it because one of the groups that has the highest episode or highest rate, that's the word I'm looking for, highest rate of suicide is young people who are part of the lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer, I don't want to leave anything out, but part of that community. And I think a lot of those people in that community who make that choice do so because they don't feel like they can be their authentic selves.
Yeah.
They feel like their parents or their friends or society as a whole doesn't accept them as they are. And so they are miserable trying to be someone else. And I don't want to get into a whole debate about it. I'm not here to judge anybody. I don't have any authority to judge anybody. So I don't even want to get into that conversation. So if what I'm saying offends you, I'm sorry. But as in the words of Margaret Thomas, you'll get over it or die with it. So I don't want to get into a great debate about it, how people live their lives. I don't have no authority to judge how a person lives their lives. But I do think sometimes I wonder sometimes if that is one of the contributing reasons, not the sole reason, but one of the reasons why the rate of suicide is so high in young people in that community. Because when you're young, you're already struggling to find yourself anyway.
Yeah.
It is already a struggle, regardless of how you live your life. Growing up and trying to become an adult is always a challenge anyway. And then when you add in the additional pressures that they face, I cannot even begin to imagine being in that life and trying to, because I have a hard enough time just trying to charter my way through my existence, But anyway, and as I said earlier, I think you do a great job of. My sister always said you march to the beat of your own drum. I think you do a good job of being true to who Adrielle is. You don't worry about trying to be the traditional 25-year-old, 26-year-old. My bad. She had a birthday in May. You're just you. So what do you think about that? Do you feel like you do a pretty good job of being true to yourself?
Yes. But honestly, I can't even take credit for it. I don't know how to be anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people, I see them kind of put on masks based on different people. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna have to be me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to be me. And when I'm less me, it's because I'm kind of in more of a reserved state, but I'm still being authentic to who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like I even look at like actors and actresses. It amazes me how they can become someone else, because I could never do that. I can't be someone else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I just better enjoy being myself, because this is what we got.
Mm-hmm. So this is what we got. This is who we are.
Yep.
And the great part is who we are is good enough.
Yep.
And I don't think enough people fully appreciate that about themselves.
Yeah.
Who you are is good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with doing things to even improve on who you are. But just at your very core, at the very essence of who you are, is more than enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you don't have to try to please other people. You have to feel good about who you are at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'll say I had that realization, I think 2021. That just exactly who I am is just good enough. Because yeah, I've been authentic, but I still struggle with feeling like I was not enough as a person.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like I said, I couldn't be anybody else. I didn't know how. So it was a really big turning point when I was just like, there's nothing wrong with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I remember I was sitting at my desk, and I think I said like out loud, because I was just having a moment in my brain, and I was like, there's nothing wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, it's been this freeing kind of, it's freed me up to express exactly who I am even more in these last few years, which I'm pretty sure people have noticed.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I like the word you said when you said it frees you up, because it does. Yeah. It gives you the liberty, the freedom to just express yourself in a way that works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. For I think probably my whole life, I know when I was even in first, second grade, I always felt different.
Yeah.
I always felt different, but I was always okay with being different. I was always okay with not, I've felt okay with it. And again, I'll go back to my mom. My mother was very strict, but she was so good at allowing you to embrace who you were, and even encouraging you to embrace who you were. And she had a couple of phrases, and I will refrain from saying those about other people's opinions of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just didn't care about other people's opinions of her, and she didn't want us to worry about other people's opinions of us. Yeah, she would always tell us to be the best at whatever it was we decided to do. She had a little saying that she had gotten from her father. If you go, whatever you decide to be, just be the best at that. And I wish I had her recorded saying it, but she encouraged you to be yourself and to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think we would be all better served if rather than being a cheap copy or a poor knockoff of someone else, if we all just focused on being the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
And again, it is very liberating because you're not wasting time trying to be somebody else or trying to be what someone else expects of you. Now, I did go through one period in my life where I was absolutely miserable, where I was trying to be what I thought what everybody thought I should be.
Oh yeah.
I go back to college.
Yeah.
You're laughing?
Yeah, I just knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, but it was because when I went to college, I had scored very well on the standardized test, particularly in math and science. Science was like top of the scale kind of score, and math was not far behind. And so people were looking at that, and of course their immediate answer was, you need to go and study to become an engineer. You would be a black woman in engineering. You could write your own check on what they pay you. And so I went to school to study engineering. And in my heart of hearts, I never wanted to be an engineer. And I could never, in my mind, see myself being an engineer.
Yeah.
It just wasn't it wasn't who I was. Okay. But I spent 4 years studying engineering.
Ew.
4 full years studying engineering. Although I got to a point where I hated the thought of going in the engineering buildings. And then what really made me and that should have been my clue, when you just you dread it every day. Anything that you're doing that you dread every day, you need to go back and rethink that, because that's not where you ought to be. But I was at that time, I was caught in trying to be what everybody said I should be. And then what would have been my last year of engineering, we had to do projects where you went out and worked with a company. And I worked with a company in Birmingham, and I was in school in Tuscaloosa, and I would ride with my team to the business that we worked with. I won't say their name, and I won't say any of my teammates' names, but it was the most miserable experience. I realized my personality was totally different from everyone on my team. We didn't speak the same language. When we were trying to work together, we had a total lack of ability to work together. And just we were so different. Our personalities were so different. And I was just miserable. And I would just cry practically about having to go and work on that project with my group.
Did the computer die?
It may have died. We're in the middle of the discussion, though.
That's fine. We'll just be a dim light for the rest of it.
Yeah, I will just pull us in a little bit more, so maybe they can still see us. But I'm sure the lighting will be dim.
Okay.
The computer shouldn't be dead, but it appears to be.
It is definitely dead.
Okay. But anyway, so I was miserable, and doing that project made me face it head on that engineering wasn't what I wanted to do. And so I would have been graduating with my engineering degree the next semester. But instead, I called my mom and I said, I'm absolutely miserable. I cannot do this for a lifetime. I hate it. And I thought she was going to be so upset. But she said, that's okay. Find something else you want to do. Because we want you to be happy. I didn't expect that response from her. But in that moment, I needed that response from her. Because I was beyond miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I started a whole nother career in college. And I went and studied and got a degree in English, which is totally unrelated to engineering at all. But if I had continued to try to pursue that, I might have been the most miserable engineer ever. Probably would have had some money, which would have been a good thing. But I would have been miserable with my money.
Yeah.
So I'm still to this day grateful to my mom for realizing that in that moment I could not take tough love. I just needed my mom to say, it's okay, baby.
Yeah.
It's okay. So, and that's what she said. And I was so shocked that she didn't just go off. But that was the one time that I spent time trying to be what somebody else wanted me to be. And it was an abject, what is the word?
Abject.
Yeah, abject failure. Yes. So I got my English degree, which is what I always was, an English major in my heart and soul. And in my engineering classes, we had to write reports. And even in the project that I hated so much, my writing was like the thing that my professors always talked about. You write so well. And my teammates, even though we couldn't agree on anything else, they had to agree on my writing. So, but I had to be willing to step outside of what everybody else thought I should be and just be me.
Yeah.
And I have managed to make a whole career off that English degree. But anyway, so I would really encourage you, whatever you're doing in your life, make sure you're being yourself. Be true to yourself. It's okay if it's not what everybody else is doing. It's okay if it's not what everybody else is expecting. Do it because it makes you feel good about you.
Yeah.
I have a friend who asks me often, you got up and you got dressed and you put on your makeup and you did your hair. Where are you going? I said, nowhere. She's like, oh, you just feel like being retired and fabulous. Absolutely. And it's just not doing it to impress anybody because I'm in the house with myself. But just because I enjoy it and because in my mind, that's who I see is a glamorous old chick. So, hey, that's who I am. Mm-hmm. But anyway, and you enjoy being, how do you describe yourself? What's your style? Because you have a very distinct style.
Well, I think I have several styles.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about like clothes and like how I present myself,
Just how you present yourself in general. Your clothing is just a part of how you present yourself.
well, yeah, I don't know. It's complicated. I am alternative,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know if you.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, and what do you mean when you say I am alternative?
I'm just alternative, just in general. So
What does that mean? I'm alternative.
that's that's why when you asked that, I was like, oh boy, how do I explain it? Okay, so it's counterculture. So it's basically everybody just kind of doing their own thing. So I wear my fishnets and my platforms and my chokers and my that's just alternative. That's just an expression of being alternative. But then I'm also very bohemian. I'm a little hippie at heart.
Yeah, you are a little hippie at heart.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess the modern term would kind of be bohemian. So I'm very much just an alternative bohemian. I'm also a little academic, a little nerdy.
You are
Very
an academic.
So yeah, I'm whatever mix of all that stuff that there is.
Right, right. But you were telling me once that I was you saw me as an academic.
Yeah.
And at the time I was kind of thinking, what do you mean? But, yeah, that is kind of my personality.
It is your personality.
I am an academic. Yeah, I am. Not not the hippie version.
No.
But anyway, definitely an academic.
Yeah.
And I enjoy being different. I embrace it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I just feel like you always taught me to embrace it. Like you never made me feel like I was doing something weird.
Right. As a matter of fact, I used to tell you, no, you're not weird. You're unique.
Yeah.
Don't you remember that?
Yeah.
You would always say, oh, I'm just weird. I said, no, you're not weird. You're unique.
Yeah.
And so I think you embrace the unique now,
Yeah.
rather than seeing yourself as weird.
Yeah, I don't think I'm weird at all.
Yeah, yeah. Man, I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, I have my little green juices and I go outside and do my little grounding moment where I just touch the ground and have my little meditation outdoors. Just very hippie. Spending time in nature, I love doing that all the time. I like to go reset. I like to get in the waterfall at Chihuahua. It's like
I was just thinking, you like to
resetting.
go climb those rocks.
I love to hike.
Uh-huh.
I have got to be in nature, get in the water. It's just, it's almost like a religious experience. It's like being in nature like that. Kind of how you are with the beach. For me, it's like the woods like that. That does it for me.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking recently that, man, I really need a trip to the beach.
I do too, and I don't even like the beach, but I it's time.
Yeah. I do need a trip to the beach. Yeah. So we'll have to do, we used to do the fall trips anyway.
Yeah, we did.
And that was a great time for me because it's not too hot.
Yeah.
It's not too crowded. The beaches
too
around
crowded.
here
It's not too
are
crowded.
not too cool. You can literally still play in the water.
You go around October, it's great.
That's when we used to go all the
should go
time,
in
was
October.
October. We'll make plans to do
Oh, that
that.
sounds amazing.
Yes.
Also, I wasn't done.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was talking about the bohemian side, but then there's also the alternative side, which bohemian, that's also alternative, but whatever. I'm talking more the edgy alternative. So I have my little metal music, which is unusual to some people, but I'll turn that up as loud as possible and I'll just jam with my metal music. I go to my little metal shows. It's nice to not feel like I need somebody's permission to like the things that I like and be the person I am. I'm not gonna follow somebody else's curated idea of what I'm supposed to be. And I think too many people do that.
Right.
It's a problem. And I will also say one more thing before I think I should stop talking. Aesthetics are fine. It's fine to kind of have a visual. We all have our own unique aesthetic, though. I think you're just a combination of your own things. I know I'm, the alternative emo looking person some days, and some days I'm like a little earth goddess, as I call myself. So just be both. You don't have to pick one. It's weird to put yourself in a hole and be like, this is my aesthetic. Don't deny yourself the other part of yourself.
Right.
And I think sometimes with aesthetics, with this modern kind of my generation, is very bad about relying on aesthetics for a curated personality. Whenever you show up visually as something, it's like you already have a curated personality in a way. People expect this person who likes these things to also like these things. And I feel like people just kind of connect the dots and just follow the curated personality that's there for them. I feel I think if you, this is going to sound crazy, but I feel so strongly about this. I think if you make too much sense, you don't really make sense. You can I like crystals and meditation, but I also like beer and football and weightlifting, and I like pink and I like black and I like all these things. They don't have to match. I think because some people are like, oh, you're a granola personality. I think everybody is really granola if you would not try so hard to make sense. You don't have to make sense. You don't owe it to anybody to make sense. You don't need somebody else's permission to be exactly who you are. I think realizing that is, I think more people are realizing that, like in my generation, kind of, but it's still a long way to go. But that's my thoughts on that.
Okay, and you had some strong thoughts on that.
Yeah.
But when I thought about talking about being authentic and being true to yourself, I thought about you. I thought about how you have really come into a realization and an appreciation of exactly who Adrielle is and what she wants out of life.
Yeah.
And just it's been good to see that growth in you. And I would hope for whomever comes across this video that if you're not living the life that is authentically you, if you're not being true to yourself, that would be your challenge. To be yourself. Like Adrielle was saying, you don't have to get anyone's permission to be you. As long as, and I say this often on this podcast, as long as you're not doing something that's hurting yourself and other people, do you, be you. That would be your greatest contribution to yourself and ultimately to the world, is for you, to be the very best you that you can bring out on any day. Yeah. And some days your best may not be very high, but that's okay. We all have those days where our best is pretty puny for today, but that's okay. Tomorrow you'll just be even better.
Yeah. And another thing, when you're authentic, I feel like you attract more people who are like your authentic self. But
True.
Whenever you're faking it like that, you're going to get people who are like
who are fake as well.
Who are fake as well. Or who are like the version that you're pretending to be. You're just going to be happier overall when you just accept yourself and lead with who you actually are. So,
absolutely. Well, that was wonderful. You stepped right in there like I hoped you would.
Yeah.
And I just watching you become this wonderful young lady that you are just makes me so proud of you as a mom. Just seeing that you are being being Adrielle.
Yep.
And proud of it, and so I'm proud of it as well. Yeah. All right, so I hope you will just focus on doing what you want to do because it's what you want to do. Being who you want to be because it's what you want to be. You don't have to be a cheap copy of anybody. Be 100% original. Yeah. And just embrace that. And do it fully. And if you're not exactly sure who you are yet, that's okay. Just focus on it. Go out, try some different things. Go exploring. Go by yourself. See what feels good and what feels right to you. And you will slowly start to really uncover who you are in your truest form. And be willing to explore because you deserve it. And that's what this podcast is all about. Taking care of yourself. Why?
Because you deserve it.
You absolutely deserve it. Good night.
Good night.